Hello again, everyone. So today I want to talk about surviving 2025. Now, I have talked about this for a while. I've talked about predictions of this year and the next 4 years. And a lot is happening. You know, in so many ways, 2025 is more chaotic, more confusing, and more survival based than any year we've maybe seen in our lifetime. I find that the amount that has gone on in the first month of this year alone is more than we've really been able to deal with in the past decade. Now, with the rise of AI and a lot of disillusionment going on, I don't know if that's a word, but we'll just go with it. There's this question of what is real? What is reality? What is happening right now? And I think with those big questions, it comes down to what reality do I want to live in? And I think we get to a place where we're so overwhelmed in the way that the world is at such a rapid pace. The elites and the agendas are so active that it's really hard to feel like we have any power. So today I want to talk about where we can be at within ourselves to really be able to survive, and not just survive, but thrive in 2025. And then moving into 2026 and 2027, and then 2028, which is the end of this 4-year cycle, we start to anchor in this new frequency, this new energy. So how do we survive really the next 4 years? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So I don't have any notes. I am going totally divine feminine on this. I have set my intentions. And as I was setting my intentions for what you all needed to know during this video, there was a visual that came up, and I was going to draw the visual, and then I felt like I just needed to explain it. So the visual came through as, I always go back to Charlie Brown, and I forget what the kid's name is, but one of the kids in Charlie Brown, he's like always dirty, and he has this sort of like cloud of chaos and lines and everything around him. And anyway, I always go back to that image with chaos frequency, because when I take a look at someone's aura, I can see how expanded they are, I can see how closed off they are, I can see their blocks, I can see when they're in flow with life, I can see when they're structured. And when someone's in fear, when someone's in survival, when someone is in chaos frequency, that's what it looks like. It looks like their energy is everywhere, their chakras are all over the place, they're most likely out of body or kicked out of their body. And that is, it's a terrible place to be in. I think we've all been there. And leading up to 2025, we've all been switching in between high vibration, low vibration, good days and bad days, challenging moments and breakthroughs and breakdowns and all of the above. And when the rest of the world is in chaos, it allows us to manifest. And that's like the number one point that I want to get through, is that this is the perfect time to manifest whatever it is that you want, both for yourself and for the collective. And the reason why is because we are not competing with everyone else's version of reality. If you and another person were stuck in a room, and just like think of a blank room, and both of you wanted to create or manifest something, then you essentially have to find sort of the co-creation, the middle ground, the compromise in between both of your reality projections, and then that's usually what we end up seeing manifested or anchored into reality. So right now, when everyone else is freaking out, this is the time where you're not competing with others to co-create. This is truly the best time to ask for what you want, but not just asking for what you want, but taking action on what it is that you want. So that's sort of my first point, is manifest, manifest, manifest. And if you're asking how to manifest, you just focus on what you want. That's really what it is. And if you really want to anchor in a manifestation quite quickly, then you can focus on what you want through your 5 senses. If you're like, I am competing in a race and I really want to make a certain time, or I want to buy a new car that's going to help me with transport so I can get to and from work, or whatever your intention is. It can be very physical, it could be very non-physical. I want to get to the next vibrational level where I feel in tune and aligned to my reality. Think about yourself being there, visualize yourself being there, but then what does it smell like? What does it feel like emotionally? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it taste like? All right? Anchor that in as a reality that already exists, and that's how you can experience it in the present. And the more we can do that and really start to believe that it is already happening, or has already happened, the faster it's going to anchor into your current moment. All right. Now, the next thing that I'm going to recommend as far as a huge tool in surviving 2025 and beyond is vibrational navigation. I have mentioned this before, but this is more important than ever before. Vibrational navigation is the ability to consciously connect and consciously disconnect from the world and reality around us. For example, when I consciously take the time to connect to the cup of coffee on my desk. Now, of course, our autopilot programming is going to have us wake up, make the coffee, drink the coffee, and not really think twice about it. When we really show up in the present moment and we connect ourselves to aspects of this reality, we choose to be in the present moment with that thing. So I smell the coffee, I taste the coffee, I realize the coffee is really cold and really stale and actually really acidic and really gross. And then I realize I don't even like coffee. Why am I drinking this? Oh, it's because my autopilot brought me to this moment. Then we start to switch our perspective from the character that we're playing in life, this identity, this role. We switch ourselves immediately into the player of that character. We start to become more objective. We start to question our actions and our reactions, our wants, our desires, our positions, our identities, our attachments. And when we start to do that, we start to shift from being in the passenger seat of the car that you're driving into the driver's seat. Because it's so easy to blame the government. It's so easy to blame your in-laws. It's so easy to blame your financial status for your unhappiness or for where you're at. But you'll never be able to shift out of that status if you don't take responsibility for being there in the first place. When we start to show up consciously, we start to shift the world around us. We start to realize that we are the one creating this reality, not everyone else. And when we can do that, there's a certain level of radical responsibility that is needed in that moment. And when we take that responsibility, we start to actually listen to our own intuition. And when we listen to our own intuition, we gain a certain level of trust within ourselves. And when we gain trust within ourselves, we gain access to self-worth. So do you see how consciously showing up, choosing to connect to simple things, maybe it's an email, maybe it's a homeless person, maybe it's that cup of coffee, maybe it's the water that you're drinking, maybe it's the exercise that you're having at the gym, whatever it may be. Now, likewise, one of the more important aspects of vibrational navigation is being able to disconnect from aspects of the world around you. Now, keep in mind that this is not a novel concept, right? We connect and disconnect from things in our lives every day, all day. I mean, there could be a sappy commercial on and you find yourself in tears. When you watch the same commercial the next day, you're simply not having the same reaction. And it's because we are subconsciously, unconsciously choosing, not choosing to connect and disconnect with aspects of the world around us. Now, I find that one of the worst problems that we're having right now is overstimulation. And one of the things that I like to say is it's the oversaturated sponge syndrome, or OSSS. And the oversaturated sponge is exactly how it sounds. It's someone like you who has just taken on too much of the world around you, especially if you are a naturally empathic or sensitive individual. What's going to happen is, no matter if it's the news station that you're watching or the complaints from the coworkers at work or even just the bad day that the cashier at the grocery store is having, you're going to pick up on all of that. And then on top of that, you've got social media and you've got financial stress and you've got inflation and then you've got the shit that's going on in the world, and it's so overwhelming. You're connected to so much of it that you are completely and utterly overwhelmed. And as you're overwhelmed, any little extra drop into your sponge is going to create this outpouring of excess. So we need to be disconnecting more often from the world around us. A lot of us tend to disconnect in an autopilot way. We tend to buy shit we don't need on Amazon, or we tend to eat that entire bag of chips when we don't need to. We tend to distract ourselves from the overstimulation in really unhealthy ways. When we start to practice the ability to disconnect, sometimes disconnection looks like walking away. Sometimes disconnection means grounding yourself so that you're not empathically so sensitive. Sometimes disconnection means visually cutting cords with those around you. And sometimes disconnection actually just means diverting your focus from the thing itself. When you go from connecting to that coffee cup on your desk to then disconnecting and then reconnecting to, say, an email that you need to answer, that's a really good example of subconsciously connecting and disconnecting. What were to happen if the majority of the experiences we have in our lives are actually consciously connected? Or the fact that we have the power, we have the ability, we have the wherewithal to consciously disconnect from aspects of our lives that are not adding value to us. Once again, we start to anchor in a sense of empowerment. We start to anchor in a sense of responsibility. We start to anchor in a sense of, I can do this, which is incredible. You know, it's something that needs to be self-taught, because I don't know about your parents, but you know, the older generations just did not teach us how to do this, how to really truly navigate this world. But not just navigate this world by paying your bills, but navigate the world between worlds. Navigate the energetic frequencies that we are being challenged with. And then let me just tune into maybe a last message for surviving 2025. Let me just tune in, and while I do that, go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Or like this video, or share it with someone who needs to know that it's going to be okay. Yeah, okay, there is something that comes through. And the word that comes through is sovereignty or freedom. Now, I want you to, in this moment right now, I want you to take a look at your life. I want you to ask yourself, who is in my life? What are my greatest influences? Where do I spend my time? Where do I put my focus? And then I want you to ask yourself if you would be okay completely self-sufficient. Would you be okay emotionally without your therapist? Would you be okay within your anxiety without your medication? Would you be okay, I don't know, without that bag of chips or without that next Amazon purchase? I want you to really take a look and ask yourself if your basic needs are being met, and if there is any aspect of your life that you are too heavily relying on others. For example, maybe your whole life you've just been looking for approval from your father or your mother. Maybe you're holding out hope that one day they will change and they will show up and they will finally tell you that they're proud of you. What happens if you let that go, that expectation, that anticipation, that need, that desire? What happens if you take more responsibility and become a little bit more self-sufficient? There's a lot of things that could change. And I know a lot of people right now are so caught up in the illusion of politics that they think their whole world is coming to a close in the next 4 years. And it's just not the case. Your identity, your self-worth, and your feeling of freedom and sovereignty is so wrapped up in external factors that you don't even know who you really are. And what I want to remind you of is the fact that you're not your political association, you're not your skin color, you're not your gender, you're not your sexual orientation, you're not your financial status, you are not your children, you're not the clothes that you wear, you're not any of it. To be honest, you're not even a human, and you're not an alien either. You are a fractal of energy experiencing a physical reality in a very incredibly impermanent way. If we're lucky, we only get 75 trips around the sun, and that's if you're lucky. So what are you doing right now to make the most out of this experience? I know it's a lot, but you're allowing it to be a lot. The challenges, the downfall, the breakthroughs, the chaos, the fear, all of that's still going to exist out in the world. But you get to live your best possible lives beyond that. So stop funneling your time, your energy, and your very, very precious resource, which is your focus, into something that doesn't give back. Stop funneling yourself into black holes. Stop identifying with aspects of this illusion. Understand that you are infinite, understand that this is impermanent, and understand that all of this is malleable. You get to change it. You get to create it. If you're living a really shitty life, accept that you've created that. And the second that you accept that you've created the life that you're living is the second you get to decide to uncreate it and then to recreate it in whatever way you see fit. The key to changing your reality is being able to show up as the conscious creator and to believe that you are the only one who's in charge of the way your life plays out. And that, my friends, is all you need to know in order to survive 2025 and beyond. Hang in there. I got you. I'm right there with you. Check out my website, elizabethaprilmore.com, for more content and information that will empower you, inspire you, inform you, maybe freak you out, but get you on the path of ascension, alignment, and harmony with the only creator of this reality, which is you. I'll see you there.